All right, so if you look, this is what the Fed did in the different recessions to curb inflation, right? So these are the different recessions. Everything, the 2008, 2009 is an anomaly. But look where we started from. Nothing. We started from about zero, right? So now we're up to a whopping 2.2 and a quarter, 2.5%. The Fed's raised up to 2.5, which is almost nothing. So that's not really putting a dent in anything right now. So a lot of people are saying, well, we need to wait for the time to run out to see what it's going to do to the economy. Well, rates are all-time low. They're only planning to go to 3.5. If they have to really go up, they're talking maybe 4.5%, which is below the 5. I mean, below the 5 here.
Are we going to see cars 17% inflation?
No, because that's what you saw over here, right? So you were that era, and it really wasn't Carter's fault. It was the guy before him. It was this idiot named Byrne. I forget the guy's name. He was the Fed guy they had before who just ignored inflation. But anyway, that's a different story. But no, we're not going to see that. We're going to see now. Who knows? I mean, there's black swan events. There's all kind of things that's going to happen. But the Fed believes that their goal is to jack it up to about 3.5%. They may have to go to 4.5%, depending on what inflation's doing. But we got some black swan events kind of hanging over us out there. One of the biggest ones, Russia, if they cut gas supplies off to Europe, that would definitely send Europe into a big recession, which would have some fallout to us. And there's other little black swan events out there that could happen. But if things go as planned, that that maybe a 4.5% interest should do it on the Fed.
Pelosi going to Taiwan.
And you got Pelosi going to Taiwan. Those are little potential triggers, right? It's trying to take over Taiwan. There's little gotchas out there hiding in the weeds. Not having a real strong administration worries me. Things can happen, but from all indications, this is going to be fairly mild. In Houston, we're not going to feel a whole lot. We're so diverse. In the mortgage industry, they've already had 100,000 layoffs in the mortgage industry, right? So
is that nationally or is that
that's nationally.
national?
That's nationally. Rocket Mortgage, all these big mortgage companies, because these rates went up. The refi boom was most of that volume, and that went to zero. So some mortgage companies have just shut their doors. So if you're that person, that's a recession to you, right? Not a recession to me, because I'm pretty much I'm busier than ever right now. But it depends on But in Houston, we did all this great stuff the last few years without the participation of energy. Now energy's back. But the mortgage business is down. There's other businesses that are down. There's always going to be winners and losers. But Houston's going to, I just thank the good Lord I'm in Houston doing real estate. I think this is one of the best places on earth to be doing it. What's that?
We're more diversified.
We're more diversified. That's a huge, there's always people, like I said, there's people that need help. There's always stuff out there. But that's just based on the data, we got the odds of getting much more than 4.5% are pretty low. But this inflation is going to be stingy because of energy for the most part.
Awesome. May not go that high, but inflation could.
Well, the inflation is at 9.1 now, right? That's because energy is where it's at. Energy is affecting everything, not just, the price you pay at the pump is minimal, right? Okay, so what you pay $30 a month more, $40 a month more in gas. That's not going to change your lifestyle a whole lot. But every good and service that you get has an energy component to it. Your plastics, if you're food delivery and stuff. But on one hand, Walmart reported, right? Earnings, I don't know if you pay attention, they got a surplus of inventory. That's anti-inflationary because they got too much stuff. But other people haven't got enough stuff. Lumber prices come cratering down. Copper prices have come cratering down. So that's good for builders. But that's that's inflationary because now builders can build more cheaper, and so it's not going to. There's things that are slowing the economy down. There's things that aren't slowing it down. the Fed's got, in my opinion, they've got their work cut out for them. This inflation, getting it down to their goal of 2%, isn't going to happen quick. It's not. There's no way it can happen by the end of the year. They'll be lucky to get it down by the end of next year. So
They printed so much money, the balance sheet is extremely large.
that's, I mean, well, not only us, but Europe. Between us and Europe, it's $10 trillion out there, and they're still adding up.
No.
So it's, there's a lot of moving parts on this one. I just wish we had different administration in there. But they knew, I mean, but before this, I can't really blame everything on the one guy. When they started doing this money because of COVID, they knew they had one or two problems. Either they're going to have to put a lot of people on the street, or they're going to have to print a lot of money to save people from going on the street.
They started
And-
going on strike, and that's what caused the
And the decision was, there's two devils. It was better to deal with inflation later than it was with having all these people get thrown out of their houses and apartments and such because they couldn't make the payments. So that was a conscious decision they made back then, and they admitted it. But for this administration to say inflation was going to be transitory, and I mean, it was like, what planet were they coming from? They knew this. I mean, it was easily predictable. So anyway, I go on. I'll shut up on that one because.
Guys.
I asked the question almost of fine, say there's inflation. What does that change for you, though, at the end of the day? The reality is, it's not just a U.S. phenomenon. This is happening globally, right? So where are you going to go instead? Probably nowhere else. You're probably going to stay in the U.S. regardless, right? The other factor, too, of course, is it's not just inflation in of itself. Corporate profits are at record highs now, so ultimately...
Paycheck to paycheck, but 61% of the population is.
Sure.
It's affecting them.
Sure.
61% of the population is being affected. Fortunately, I'm part of the other 39.
For sure. So over time, though, as that consumer demand comes down because they can't afford to buy stuff, ultimately it will come down over time, right? So there are factors at play that over the long run, kind of to your original question, are they going to see levels back in Carter? I think that's unlikely because ultimately this is a global problem, not just a localized matter. And I think you're going to have these matters where there is reduced demand that comes as a result of it, which is going to ultimately pull the prices back down. And I think you also have the benefit of the fact that we are coming up on election cycle. It's not popular to kill the economy. So you're going to have some stuff that are going to be promoting in things that are going to be favorable towards the economy and getting things resolved in some way. But at the end of the day, in regards to what do we actually do based on this information, regardless, the most important thing is to invest, right? And I say that because ultimately timing the market is more important than timing the market, all that sort of stuff, right? And I think one interesting study that I thought was probably one of the most interesting ones that sticks with me is Fidelity, right? One of the huge brokerage houses out there. They did a study across all of their historical clients to see what was the most successful strategy for people. And the number one reason for people that had made the most money with them, percentage-wise, of course, are people who died, people who passed away, and they've basically held their investments without selling or fear and exiting and so on. So timing obviously was great. And then second most successful strategy was people who forgot their passwords. So they couldn't even log into a trade if they wanted to. So I think there's something to be said about that where ultimately there's only so much you can control, but what you can control, of course, is deploying your capital, put it to work, to do something rather than lose money just sitting on the sidelines.